Heidi Medina, welcome to the Marketing Study Lab podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And before we start, just before I press record, you were telling me that your surname means a couple of things in different countries. So before we go on to a random opener, what does Medina mean for people that, like me, only speak one singular language and are really embarrassed about it?
Oh, don't worry. I'm learning on the extra languages. But yeah, traveling in like Morocco and some of the Middle East, I found out Medina is the center square where they sell everything. It was like the old part of the city. And then in Spain, some of the towns are called that. So something fun I found out since marrying my husband and acquiring that name.
Cool. So technically, we could say you are the heartbeat to many countries.
I guess so.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
That
okay.
sounds ego-related, though. Sounds so egotistical.
That's what we love. Okay. Random opener then. Let's get on to very, very serious topics. Random opener. And I love this one because we could fall out dependent on your answer.
Yeah. Okay.
Peanut butter, smooth or crunchy?
See, this was a hard one for me because I'm in a depends camp.
Okay.
No, because it depends on what you're using it for.
Yeah, okay. Elaborate.
Yeah, now sometimes I like it only smooth. You know, you just need that nice smooth texture. You don't want any crunch in it. But sometimes you need crunch.
Well, yeah. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
I'll go with that. I don't particularly like people sitting on the fence normally, but I think I can't argue with that logic.
I thought about it and I knew you were going to say, oh, you got to pick one. And I was just like, I don't know because I use both.
Yeah. So I'd go crunchy every time, I think. I wouldn't turn away at smooth, but I think it's got to be crunchy.
Oh, nice. There's nothing like a good, and I don't know if you guys do this. This may be more an American thing, but I love crunchy peanut butter and banana sandwiches.
Peanut butter and see, I'm not a huge banana fan, but I get it. I love peanut butter, so I'm in. Right, yeah, I'm in. Anyway, right, okay. So peanut butter out the way. We've sorted that one. Let's change direction. And can you tell us your story that brings you to this stage of your career and what you're up to right now?
Wow. It's a big one. Well, I'm just going to go start with what brought me into business coaching and LinkedIn because the story gets too long before that. Actually, it was a year ago today. I got the notification from Facebook this morning. I was put in a position where I could make a choice to get into LinkedIn coaching. I was already been a 12-year content writer, that kind of stuff before that. But I had been on LinkedIn and gotten very visible for about the year and a half, 2 years before that. And people were asking me, 2 or 3 hours a day, I was answering questions on how I got so visible on LinkedIn. And all that was for free. I got in this position where this other coach was looking for a professional to come talk to her group about LinkedIn. And I was like, okay, she was doing it for free. So there wasn't a lot of people speaking up and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, screw it. I've been doing LinkedIn this long. I'm talking it every day. I'll come speak to your group about it and help them out with it. And she's like, well, I don't want anybody that's not doing a product, in that atmosphere. And I was like, well, she's like, can you have something created and have it done within 6 weeks? And I was like, I thought about it a couple of days and I was like, all right, come on, let's do it. Let's do it. So immediately, because I've also got 25 plus years in building my own businesses and stuff, I was like, okay, business coach, LinkedIn together, because for me, they can't be separate. And I built a 5-day LinkedIn challenge and a course in those 5 weeks and launched it by the end of October.
Nice.
So that's how it got me here.
That is good stuff. So what are you up to right now? Is it still the 5-day challenges and the courses?
I still have both the course and the challenge. The challenge doesn't run as often. I'm running it 3 to 4 times a year. I love it. A lot of work though. The course is actually transformed into a hybrid group coaching / course material membership now instead. And I do a lot of one-to-one coaching. So
That's cool. So I usually leave this to the end, but it seems perfect time. So do you want to give it a quick plug then? Where should people go? And then you can mention it at the end again.
Okay. You can find me on talktoheidi.com, pretty easy, or Heidi Medina on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Superb. Right. Okay. Let's get into the meat and bones of this and some actionable insights onto LinkedIn. And what I'd like to focus on today is more looking at using LinkedIn from an employee point of view. And I think we both know and understand that whatever we talk about is going to be pretty similar, regardless of whether you're an employee, a one-man band, run your own company, entrepreneur, whatever it might be. But I think using LinkedIn as an employee gives us the chance to take a step back and look at it more holistically. And if you've never used LinkedIn before, the first thing that I'd like to know is you sign up, yes. You're there, you're in. What are we doing then? How are we setting up a profile or a business page, if you like? What are we doing there?
If you're going to come at it from an employee point of view, you're probably not going to need your business page as much.
Okay, right.
That's not as visible. It is a great place if you have a website or a logo that you happen to have lying around. However, you personally branded yourself. And that's what I think, even as an employee, we have to realize we are a personal brand. So because of that, then we still treat ourselves sort of as a business still on LinkedIn even. So we need to think about that everything we do, an employer can potentially see it. But the first thing we're going to do if we log in and we get set up is we're going to obviously set up our profile first. And we really should do that before we start doing anything else, making connections, talking to people, anything like that.
Okay.
There's what I like to call the LinkedIn calling card, which is so important. And that's the top 3 things on your LinkedIn profile, which is your headline banner, your profile shot, and your headline. And the reason I call that your calling card is because it is the first 3 things at the top of the page, but it's also when you make a comment or you post a piece of content online, everybody sees those 3 things thanks to LinkedIn. So it's like a little business card. So I call it the calling card. So every time you drop it, you're dropping your calling card. Like it came from back in the old days. I think the British did that mostly, where they would show up at people's house and they would leave a card that they were there with their name on it and that kind of stuff. So that's how it reminded me of that.
Yeah, we just stand outside each other's houses now and go, where the hell are you? And WhatsApp each other probably. So that's what we do now.
That is I think that's the norm for everybody right now. It's definitely changed a few things. Mm-hmm. But we want to set those things up. The whole thing needs to be set up, but we want to set those things up first because those are seen all over everything we do. And if you set those up properly, then that creates enough curiosity, enough interest for people to click through and see your whole profile. So you need to have a good headline banner. You need a good, clear profile shot, preferably one with you looking into the camera because it makes people feel more connected to you. And a good headline that tells you what you're doing, who you want to attract, basically information they need, keywords that people are going to use to search for you and find you. Because the LinkedIn is a big search engine as well. So it uses to pull from that headline to determine how to find you. So you want to use common sense keywords people are using to find you in your headline.
So I think it would be easy to dive on LinkedIn, and in terms of that element, so photo, check, looking at the camera, smiley face, etc., and then you've got your banner, be a bit creative, getting what you actually do on there and that kind of stuff, or show people what you can do or are doing. But then the final bit, the headline, you should technically put what you do in terms of marketer, community, whatever it is.
That's the keywords.
Yeah, okay, those are the keywords. So what you see quite a lot on LinkedIn is it's more of a description of what people do. Is that a good thing to have?
It can be. See, I take a different approach on LinkedIn headlines. A different approach, period, on LinkedIn profiles. The profile used to be considered an About You page. It isn't any longer. It's a landing page. So it's the page you use to attract people to you, which means you're not making it about you. You're making it about them. Yes, you're included because you're part of the package, but it's all about them. So your headline, you actually want to speak to them. Even as an employee, you're going to want to be speaking to the employer you're wanting to attract. You're going to be wanting to let them know, hey, I'm open for business. I'm here, I'm available, I want to work for you. This is why. So you want to include what it is some of your strength or your weakness and who it is you're talking to, who you're trying to attract. Now those keywords, like including who you are, that's so they can search and find you, which is what you want it to be. You see all these people, these cute little titles. Oh, notorious liar. I saw that one yesterday, by the way. I'm like, oh, that's going to work really well. But that kind of stuff is not going to be used. So your headline is so important that you put in the important things that people need to find you. You can get in the summary. You've got more space.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're setting up our profile. And we've got those 3 things. And I know there's a whole host of other things you can put on your profile, but I mean, we could talk for hours on that. But get those 3 things done. And then what we can do is move on to building a network, actually connecting with people and doing that thing. Because if you're not doing that on LinkedIn, then it's pretty pointless, really, if you're not chatting to people. So how would you start to build up a network that is actually meaningful?
For me, it's by who you connect with. You have to connect deliberately in that aspect. You know, you see these people all over the Lions. I'm sure you saw that, LinkedIn open networkers and that kind of thing right now. Don't do that. It's not. If you build your network, and this is going to get in your algorithm question, I know it's coming later. If you build your network deliberately, you train the algorithms on who to show you to and who to show you. So when it comes to building that network, I have 4 people that you want to connect with. This normally goes to my business owners, so we're going to twist here a little bit, but it's people you're wanting to do, in this case, the employers you're wanting to attract. So you're going to want to connect with any employees within that company that you can connect with. And a lot of people seem to forget that even like a secretary or somebody like that can still be a connection and into a company. If you make friends there and when it comes time and it's somewhere you want to get in, they can refer you. So if you have certain employers that you want to be connected to, that you potentially want a job there, you want to connect to anyone in the company that you can. So you want to do that. You want to connect to peers because peers can refer you to other places, even the companies they work. People you want to talk and listen to, that kind of stuff. So it's all about building this network to where you enjoy it too. Mm-hmm. And that's why you want to be connected to people you want to talk and listen to as well. I mean, I'm connected to friends and we hang out and chat sometimes, but you know what? Every time you're hanging out and chatting, you're still dropping that calling card. People can still see you. So it's all about getting visible. Mm-hmm. But when you do this deliberately, instead of connecting to just anybody, you build a network that works for you and supports building your goals, your dreams, whatever it is you're trying to do.
So. Yeah, I really like that, like becoming visible. But I've never heard anybody say you should enjoy your network, and that's completely true. Because if you think about to make this viable and to make it helpful to you as an employee, you need to spend some time on the platform. And if it's not enjoyable, you're not going to want to go on that platform. You're going to want to go back to Facebook and look at cats in hats, let's face it, you know?
Yes. And LinkedIn for me is my favorite platform. I have so much fun. I enjoy it so much. And it's because of the network I've built. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I have some amazing people in my network.
And I think as an employee, it's that balance, like you said previously. You know, whoever you work for, they will probably see your LinkedIn profile, especially if they're on there. They'll definitely see it. But on the same respect, you kind of want that because you kind of want to stand out. And if you're, let's take it back to marketing. So if you're a marketing manager at a company and you're writing content about marketing and it's coming up on LinkedIn and your employee, your boss, your MD, your CEO, whoever it is seeing that, then it's like, well, they know what they're talking about. And you're just going to stand out like a sore thumb in your department, in your business. So not just from the connections outside, but also inside as well.
Yes. And one thing I think employees especially forget is a lot of employers are looking at social media before hiring now.
Oh, yeah.
So it can cost you a job by being stupid online. I mean, I'm not saying you don't go out there and be yourself. I am the biggest representative. Always be yourself, be authentic, be you. You've seen that I drop the F-bomb online. I do that. I've hit a point. It's part of my natural speech. I'm not going to remove it, that kind of thing. I'll clean up here and there when I need to. But you have to be you in the aspect that you got to realize at the same time you do need a job or you want a job somewhere. So, okay, I'm not saying you should always be you, but you don't want to drop the frat party pictures. You know, right now at this point, we're politically charged, your country and mine, especially heavily politically charged. And at this point, how political do you want to be showing up online that could cost you a job? I mean, there's been some stuff I've read lately that I'm just like, whoa, you know, that kind of stuff. So you got to think about those things because potential employers or new employers are going to see that and still be you. But sometimes you do have to think about what you're putting online.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially with the politics and religion as well. They're just two things that it's pointless because there's a heightened emotion in people, regardless of what you believe. And that's not the conversation here, regardless of your thoughts and beliefs or whatever. That's just not our conversation here. But what the conversation is that you have got to bear in mind who is seeing what, and why you would post something like that. And maybe you are massively into your politics. And if you are, that is fundamentally you. And that's absolutely fine. But you've just got to bear in mind that other people might have differences of opinion. And those two areas are so easy, for some bizarre reason, so easy to be offended or offend other people, that you've just got to be that little bit careful when it comes to elements like that. That's my personal, I just avoid them like the plague. It's pointless.
Yeah. Well, and I think you should still be, in my opinion with all this, even for an employee point of view, is that it's still okay to put your opinions out there. You don't want to work with a company that doesn't match your morals, ethics, and ideas in that aspect. But just think about how you do them. You know what I mean? Even whether it's religion, politics, or the frat party you decided to dump out, or where you got toasted over the weekend with your friends. Do it in a way that's a little more tasteful. Think about how you're saying it. I think it's okay to have those opinions. And like I said, you don't want to work with somebody who's going to just not have you there because you do have an individual opinion. But just be a little more thoughtful about how you say it.
Yeah, I agree. There's always times and places, and I'm with you on that. You need to be authentically you, and you need to be you. And if your ethics don't align with a company that you work for, then there's a bigger question there, and that is, do you want to work? Do you actually want to work there? You know, that's regardless of what you're posting online or how you're coming across.
That's totally my opinion, and that's even like with me. Me cussing and stuff offends some people sometimes, and I'm like, you're just not my ideal person.
Yeah.
Client, you're just not there. There's over 8 billion people in the world. You're not going to click with everybody, and that even goes for companies. So you don't want to, and that's part of what's going to make you stand out, is that you are your own person. You're not necessarily just a puppet. You're not trying to be the corporate puppet here.
Okay.
That's okay. Unfortunately, I do think the corporate world smushes that sometimes. They kind of do want the corporate puppets, and I hope that's changing, because I know when I was in it back in the day, I felt smothered because I couldn't be me. And so I think there needs to be a better balance with that. But at the same time, people need jobs, so you have to think about it.
Yes, so that's kind of why I left the corporate world, because not that I couldn't be me, but the way I wanted to be and my beliefs, they weren't held by enough people. And that isn't political. That's not religious. That is more a from a working perspective. I mean, I'm far too open and honest for my own good, and that gets me in trouble. But having said that, I will stand by that. I own it.
I'm me. Don't let sorry.
Love it. So own it. Be you. that leads us beautifully onto content, keeping the conversation flowing. How are we doing that, bearing in mind what we've just said and all those types of things? How are we communicating, content building, chatting, and having those conversations on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things, and you just hit the nail on the head right there, is we forget everything we do online is a conversation. And this is something that is really my big wheelhouse. Whether it's a piece of content or engagement, we've made those non-personal by saying content engagement, but both of those things are conversation. And we have to stop separating in person from online. They're the same. It's the same people. You have to realize the conversation stays the same no matter which platform, as in real world versus online, and it's the same. And so I get stuck with so many clients saying, I don't know how to continue the conversation. I don't know how to start the conversation. And I'm like, how would you do it in the real world? Well, I would do this. Well, why aren't you doing that online? It's the same thing. So if you went to a networking event in person, think about it. You would walk up to people, you would talk to them, or if they came over to you, you would talk to them, you introduce yourself, that kind of stuff. You do the exact same thing online. And then you ask questions, you continue the conversation. I hate those comments of I agree or thanks for your comment. You just ended the conversation. You stopped it. Nobody has nowhere else to go. I put a thoughtful comment out. You know, I'm all about the conversation and adding value. It's about adding value too. Remember, you're showing your expertise. You're setting yourself up as an authority in what you do. And this is employees as well, because once again, we're their personal brand. And so you're setting yourself up for that, but you want to continue the conversation. And then a lot of people think, oh, I can only continue it in DM. No, the minute you move it to DM, you drop your visibility. You need to keep it in public as much as possible. So open the door by asking people to have conversations in your content. Always include a CTA. Your CTA is asking people to have conversation with you. It's asking them to, it's an invitation to come in and say, hey, talk to me. That's what you're doing. And so many people don't realize that, and they forget that kind of stuff. Instead, it's thanks for your comment. Hey, I just gave you a brilliant comment, and this is what I get.
Yeah, I spent 4 hours over these 3 lines, and you've just put thanks. Are you kidding me?
It's not that bad, but it's something that, you know, sometimes I put out those comments and it's like, I wanted to continue the conversation, which is why I did it. And I even ask a question and I still get, thanks for your comment. And I'm like, but I asked you a question because I wanted to know more. So it is really about making sure you continue the conversation. You leave the door open to continue it, assuming you want to. I mean, occasionally I will do thanks for your comment because I don't want to continue with you, but that's okay too. But that's a big thing. And the biggest thing though is people need to realize content and engagement are conversation. It's conversation together. And by doing that and treating it that way, then you open the door up for amazing, amazing things to happen.
I think that a lot of what happens on LinkedIn and a lot of what goes on, if you take that into I don't like to use the word networking as a phrase because I just think it just gives the wrong connotations for what I'm trying to say. So you go to an event and you have a conversation with somebody. It's classed as networking, I know, but I just think it's such a crass way of putting it, networking. Just you wouldn't go to a family event and network. You go to a family event and have conversations and chat.
I know.
And I think if you go to an event and you start talking to somebody, you wouldn't introduce yourself and then them tell you something and you go, oh, thanks for that, and walk off. And it's the same on LinkedIn.
Or not even answer at all. You know what? My pet peeve, big pet peeve here, is people who create content with a CTA in it and then never show up to answer the people who commented.
Mm-hmm.
Total pet peeve. You invited people in the door for a conversation, yet you did not continue it. It drives me nuts. It's like missed opportunity, like crazy. And then they come to me and like, why am I not getting clients? Try having a conversation.
Absolutely, and that's a nice transition onto the next part of it. And I think as an employee, it doesn't matter what position you're in. If you can create good content around your industry, around your professionalism, around your expertise, and people are starting to have those conversations with you, they'll remember not just you, but also your company, if that's what you want and who you work for. And then they might look at the company and check you out a bit more and check the company out a bit more, which opens the door massively to changing connections into clients or potential clients. Now, I'm not saying, and I'm more of an organic growth than I am a paid marketer, massively. I know that you need that balance, but I am more on the organic, slow, long-term build. I think it's hugely important. And I'm not saying that you go on LinkedIn and everything is, every connection needs to be a client. That isn't the conversation we're having here. But how do you go from changing a connection into a client if everything fits?
For me, it's just through conversation.
Okay.
So that is the secret to my part of my organic marketing and what I do is I literally do it through conversation. I do create some in-your-face sales posts because that's necessary here and there occasionally, but the majority of it is literally through the conversation. My most recent one-to-one client, we got in a conversation on another post. I didn't hear from, it was just a conversation. I didn't hear from her again for 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden she's in my inbox. Hey, I want to talk to you about becoming a client. And between that time, she's seen a couple of my other posts, one where social proof where I helped somebody get there a lot faster than they planned on their plan. And then another one from the same person when she read his thing was that I'm not a one-size-fits-all person. And all that resonated between the conversation we already had, what more she read, and then the next thing I know, she's in my DM. 10 minutes later, she's signing up. And it was all because of the conversation, and it's all how you treat people. Me, it comes down to intentions. When people make you feel like a meal ticket, all they care about is the sale. That. Whether it's in the writing, how they talk to you, anything. That people don't like that. They hate it. Nobody likes to feel like a meal ticket, but if you have the intention to actually help, to contribute, to show up, you'll have friends. You convert friends. It's not just clients. You're converting friends. You're converting support, peers, mentors. All of these people just by your intentions on how you show up. And it even comes down to employees with this too. You can have the intention, I only want to be an employee to this company, but it's not about just that. It's about adding to the community as a whole, whether it's that employer's environment or just the LinkedIn environment, your environment, everything else. It all comes down to intentions of how you show up.
And like we were saying at the start, if you are an employee and you're active on LinkedIn, it highlights the culture and everything about the business, what you're saying and what you're commenting and who you're discussing it with and how you're saying it. And if that aligns to somebody else, then they want to know more about that company. Whereas if you just have a company page and none of your employees are saying anything, and again, this isn't about come and look at us, we sell this magical stuff and you all need to buy it. It's far from it. But if you just have a company page that is faceless, then that is such a harder conversation to see a logo and about the company and then content, which is invariably 99% of the time what we do, how we do it, why we're better, why we're special. And then it's Janice's birthday on the 7th of October. Happy birthday, Janice.
We had a cake.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. She brought cake. Yeah. Nobody wants that.
The corporate environment in most cases that we see on LinkedIn and even in the real world when you're actually there is so dry and boring. And it's like, but that's not the sum of the people working for you. It's not. And so if employers could get their employees more involved, so you would see that atmosphere, the environment, everything about it on that company page, then you would get a better feel for who it is you're going to be working with and this whole feeling, which is also why I'm saying when you connect to people, make sure you connect to anybody in the company you can, because then at least you can start getting to know them through their personal profiles. that you're starting to get the personality, see if this is something you connect with, that kind of stuff. Because company pages on LinkedIn are freaking boring.
Yeah, it's I always call it a necessary evil. You need it. I mean, you don't necessarily need it, but you need it because then it's another touch point. It's another way onto maybe the website or wherever you're directing people. So it's a necessary evil. I've heard one or two that work and they get good engagement. Not many. But it just shows, especially if you're an employee, that you are a legitimate employee. And one thing I would say is that if people are employees and they're a little bit worried about writing things and what people will think, or the MD or the owner will think, have a chat with the owner and come up with some content plan about what you want to write, as long as it's true to you, what you want to write. And then they know that that's coming and it's happening. And they're probably on board with that because it's just a bonus for the company.
It is. I mean, if it was up to me, I would see more employers require a certain amount per week from their employees. But and maybe do have a content prompt each week or something to that effect. And if people are doing it on company time and they know it's required and encouraged, not just required, but encouraged, and encouraged for you to be you. You know, you post the little things, whatever that is, personal things and stuff too, because I think the personal touches are what makes a company. Inside that business world, it's not all paper numbers and who can make the most money kind of thing too. It's got to be about that environment. And with the way the world has changed so much, even with consumers they're connecting with the companies that they resonate with now. So if you can show that environment through your social media and stuff, going to equal potentially, in the longer run, if you want to look at it, it's going to equal more sales, more fans, more everything. So go ahead, sorry.
So the thing I'm getting is that we want to be human online, and we want that face, not of the company, but a face in a company. So that leads us on to, I suppose, the crossroad here. And you mentioned it earlier on, but how much should we focus on, again, another buzzword, which I think people throw out there without really understanding it, but how much should we focus on the algorithm getting in the way of what we're actually doing? How much should we understand that, or should it all just be about freaking helping people?
Here's my problem with the algorithm. People look at it too much for just the numbers, and they blame it for what's going on instead of looking at it what it really is. The algorithm is a tool that can help you big time. It can make your life so much easier, but people only focus on those two things with it. Oh, what's wrong with it? It's not showing my stuff. What the algorithm's not showing you, you're not visible. It's your fault, not the algorithm's fault. Because you didn't do the work. Because the algorithm is literally just a code sitting back there that's trained or told that if you do certain things, it's supposed to show you so many times. The more you do, the more it shows you, et cetera. But it's also the machine that is showing your content to other people, that is showing their content to you, all of this kind of stuff. So by doing deliberate action, you train the algorithm. And by training it, you use it as a tool, and it's not hard to do. I mean, you can do it without thinking about it. You don't have to think about the algorithm. That's just the thing. You do it by what you do. Your strategy is what tells it what to do. And that goes with the content you post, how often you post. And it's not saying you've got to post all the time. You could post 4 or 5 times a week and it's enough. You could post 3 times a week legitimately if you're engaging and it's enough. In the algorithms, the most important factor is your engagement. And so if you're not commenting on other people's stuff, the algorithm is not going to show you. Social is meant to be social, and they're making it happen. And that's the biggest thing. A lot of people think they can just throw content up and they will come. Business is open, so everybody's got to flood through the doors. It doesn't work. So you really have to go out and be commenting on other people's content. And if you're not doing that, that's why you're not getting visible. And that's why and then by what you comment on, who you comment on, that tells the algorithms what to show you next time and who to show you to, because they'll show you similar people's content, that kind of stuff. So if you use it as a tool, it's very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And stop worrying about it and blaming it for all your troubles and start taking the responsibility that you're not the one doing the work.
It's so easy to do that though, because if you say the word algorithm, then it's all numbers and coding and very complex and detailed and unknown and secretive. So let's just blame the algorithm for the fact that what we did was really poor and it's not our fault.
Yeah, exactly. And it's easy to do because it's the little scapegoat sitting there because it's mysterious, but in reality, it comes down to our own stuff. High quality content, high quality engagement, high quality connection, all of it deliberately. The algorithm is your friend, a really good friend too, because it makes life so easy. Like I hear people talk about, it took me an hour to find enough comments to engage on today. And I'm just like, why? I literally just go down, boom, 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 down my feed and do it and I'm done. 15 minutes.
Yeah.
30 if I feel like hanging out. It's because they haven't trained it well enough.
That's cool. Okay, so what I want to move on to now is we've looked at all the positives and what we should be doing, but I just want to kind of finish this before we dive into some quick fire questions to end the chat on some cardinal sins that we should be avoiding on LinkedIn.
Yes. Well, we already talked about think before posting. Don't connect with anyone and everyone. Let's see. Avoid only talking about yourself. All about you. And then of course don't post and run. Biggie right there. Other than that, I mean, there's not a lot you can't do. It's just about being yourself, but those are the bigger sins, I think. It's just how you portray yourself, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Be you, you know, make it entertaining, make it colorful, make it technical, make it whoever you are, whoever you want to engage with and have that chat about. And like you say, use it as your friendly social network.
Yes.
Okay. Heidi, are you ready for some quick fire questions?
Let's do it.
Cool. Right. What was the last thing you remember Googling?
You're going to laugh at this one. It was whether or not I could can chilies in jars or not.
Okay.
I know. Well, so in Portugal, where I'm at, we don't. I'm from Colorado. I've lived in Colorado for 12 years, and I really have a thing for Tex-Mex / Mexican food. Well, in Portugal, you cannot get the style of chilies we get over there and stuff like this. So I had a friend who grew. I got the seeds in and everything. And he grew the chilies for me this year. Well, they started picking this week. So I tried to figure out how I'm going to put them up for the winter. But there's no chilies.
I love it.
Apparently, you cannot can them on their own. They don't have acidity in them.
Wow. Okay. You learn something new every single day.
I do.
What's the most important thing to know about marketing right now?
Be you, build relationships.
Yeah, I think that's as simple as it goes. It's all about that relationship, isn't it?
Yeah.
People buy from people.
I mean, yeah, that's a thing I think most people miss is they really treat online as a separate everything, but everything you do, it's about relationships this day. Not that it wasn't always, but I think we had lost that connection in a few years we've been pulling back to it. Heidi,
why do you love what you do?
Yeah, I just love it when people's face lights up and they get that win. I know it sounds cliche, but that is real. I love my clients' wins. It's a freaking incredible.
That's cool. And I suppose because you can almost, I know people diving onto the DMs and all that kind of stuff, but you can almost see that as well and go back and see what they've done and the change in it. That must be really cool.
Yeah, it is. I know there's one thing I always tell people, my clients sometimes like to try to occasionally be lazy or tell me they did something and they didn't. And do you realize I can go on LinkedIn and see exactly everything you did? You cannot lie to me about LinkedIn.
That's crazy. Yeah, of course I posted 15 times this week. Yeah, absolutely. No.
I've only seen 2.
Yeah. Oh, LinkedIn. Oh, I thought you said something else. Sorry. Yeah. It was 2. Okay, final and most important question. I think we've gone full circle here. People want to find out more about what you do, how you can really help them. Where are you pointing them? Where should they go?
Talk to Heidi.com or look me up on LinkedIn, Heidi Medina.
Yeah, that would be a bit crazy if you didn't mention LinkedIn.
I know. No, well, it was so funny too. I have to admit, I had let my website not have an update for 2 years. So it just was recently updated. So in that time, I was pointing everybody to LinkedIn. Oh, look at my website.
And I suppose, again, just wrapping up with this, but that is a really good thing to do if you don't feel your website's up to scratch or you haven't got all that content you want. Use LinkedIn use your profile as your landing page, again, full circle, while you sort out the rest.
Well, I'll tell you what, here's a quickie for you. Not even as a landing page. You can use it like beginner people who are just getting started and don't have, and of course we were more on the employee stuff, which tends not to have websites anyway. But even for starting business owners, to build a website right out the gate is really a waste of money because they're still developing who they are, what their brand voice is going to look like. I actually recommend people wait about a year and use their LinkedIn profile as a website. Mm-hmm. Because you have articles, you have content, you have a landing page, you have it all sitting right there. And then once you get to know yourself better, build your website. Then you won't be wasting time and money.
Plus, you've got a shed load of content you can then pull from there, build bigger articles, build other content, how-tos, helpful guides, all that kind of stuff. You've already got a year's worth there waiting for you. So you haven't got a homepage, an about us page, and then content.
Yeah, I mean it's a really big thing, and I really push beginning people to do that because why would you see so many people think I have to have a logo, I have to have a website right from the start, and they get stuck because of that. When in reality, you don't. LinkedIn will do the trick and then some until you know you well enough to do all that stuff, and then you save a lot of money.
Absolutely. Another one, and it does actually work, but do LinkedIn, but do a podcast as well, because you get into people's ears and you don't necessarily, people might look you up online, but if people look you up, the chances are LinkedIn will be the number one thing that comes up on Google as well.
Nice. I didn't realize that one.
Yeah.
Podcast guys. That's one area I have not wanted to step foot in, but I love what you guys do.
Cool. Excellent. Okay. I think that's a great positive to end on. Heidi Medina, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I've so enjoyed it.